Good morning. I'm Sue Smith sitting in for Elias Makos. Lovely to have you with us. We keep talking about rain. I've got sunshine over my shoulder. Whether it rains or it's sunny, I'm happy to be with you. And we're going to talk about defense spending coming up in this half hour of the show. We're also going to talk about the homeless problem in Montreal, which is something that cities across Canada are seeing. But something else that cities across Canada are seeing is an uptake in seniors. We're going to have that discussion a little bit later on as well. Right now, though, as you know, Canada is about to hit its NATO target years ahead of schedule. That announcement was made on Monday, Prime Minister Carney announcing this new defense spending. He promised to meet NATO's 2% of GDP target in this fiscal year. He also announced billions in new investment for the military, including pay raises, advanced equipment like submarines, Arctic monitoring technology, and which is also like a major shift in Canada's defense priorities. Roger Hilton is a former Montrealer. He works as a non-resident fellow at the Canadian Global Affairs Institute in Vienna, and he joins us on the line. Good morning.
Good morning, Sue. Good morning, Montreal.
I guess good afternoon for you.
That's correct. I'm in Prague today.
So what did you think of Carney's announcement yesterday?
I think better late than never. To be honest, he was hitting all of the right chords. There's still some things that are a bit suspect about it when it comes to the financing. But overall, the message, the delivery, and I thought really through the language in which he used to describe the problem, sort of the monetization of the hegemon by America. And one thing that really caught out at me as I was traveling and getting ready for this was the saying he said, "This is an age where middle powers must act to defend themselves, knowing that if they're not at the table, they're on the menu." And Sue, I got to tell you, that was a crazy thing for the Canadian PM to compare Canada to middle powers being eaten like those in Central and Eastern Europe after the Second World War.
100%. That really stood out to me, too. Also, I thought his language was pretty frank with regards to our reliance on the U.S. and how that has to change.
No, he's been hitting this, even on the campaign trail. And, given that he's a former banker by trade, the fact that he's also been really pushing the narrative about for every dollar we spend on defense, 75 of it goes to America. I think he's right on point. He's calling a spade about sort of the predatory nature of the Trump administration when it comes to, raw earth minerals and sort of even going back to the border. So, it's blunt and it's scary, but I think it's what the general public needs to hear. And also, justification for this massive increase in spending, which is still unclear how it's being financed.
Yeah, I agree. We were all kind of waiting. We were hoping that technical briefing would discuss more the nuts and bolts. But what is it, 93 billion or something that we're going to be spending?
Yeah, the cash injection.
Yeah, cash injection. What do you make of where he's chosen to spend the money? It does seem... billion sounds like a lot, but I guess it will get absorbed pretty quickly when you think of the actual state of the Canadian military right now. But it does seem to be quite thinly spread. Like he's basically bumping everything up.
Yeah, this again, for the audience, this just gets us back to par or respectability. It's I don't want to sort of be a negative Nancy, but it's important not to over-celebrate this. It was embarrassing where we were before this announcement. So obviously when there's a will, there's a way. It's great to see Carney did it. A lot of the things he outlined to was budgets for really things like spare parts and maintenance and recruitment. So all of these big purchases, new submarines or the sonar system over Horizon that they bought from Australia, a lot of this is going to be, very unsexy things about sort of retention, recruitment, and having our active combat vehicles just in order to be deployed. So I think he's done the best with what he has. Canada's top soldier was also talking about by the end of the fiscal year where Canadian forces being at about 80+% readiness. But again, this is just the first step, and it is beyond critical that they at least were able to do this before the NATO summit at the end of the month.
Right. I do want to ask you about the timing, but I guess I just want to drill down a little bit on what you just said, and without being a negative Nancy myself. The other thing that struck me about his announcement yesterday was 1 in 4, we have 4 submarines, only 1 works, and half our naval fleet is not operational. So what is this going to mean? Let's assume all the money gets spent and we build up. Like, are we even going to be able to defend ourselves at all? Like, at what capability will our military be?
Well, so let me just sort of push back a little bit. A problem that D&D will have is that they're not entirely sure how they will actually spend this money. I mean, yes, you have these big purchases, but the people in the procurement and going through the process, we can't just assume that because Ottawa has written a check to the Defense Department that, oh, here's the supplier. A whole part of what Carney wants to do is also to source a lot of the materials and the industrial base from Canada,
Yeah.
and that will take time. So again, the easiest things were having enough crews for tank maintenance or artillery or sort of to get more production lines. I think that's where you're going to see the initial investment going forward, and it will really be maybe not decades, but it will be a long time before we start to see sort of these huge systems combats, active and deployed that he's talking about in his
Right.
press conference.
Right. Yeah, and interesting the procurement from Canada, whether or not that's possible. But I guess you mentioned the timing because we're heading to a NATO summit, and I wonder is it well? So obviously we are not going to be our own military power. He talked about being an economic superpower, but I don't think anyone thinks we will be a military power anytime soon. So are we therefore tilting more towards NATO? I mean, U.S. is still part of NATO. Like, is this just to show like, hey, we're still in the game. We want to be on your team?
Well, I mean, without a doubt, I mean, the way the international security landscape is going, I mean, Canada needs as many partners and allies as possible, and it's not just Europe, right? I mean, they're also in an economic malaise at the problem. I mean, I think the PM has really pointed out about working more with Australia. South Korea has really emerged as one of the top arms producers and technology transfer, which I think the Canadian government will look at. But I think sort of the mission that Canada is looking here is just to sort of be able to defend its territorial sovereignty. And again, as alluded to multiple times by the PM, the eastern flank for Canada is the Arctic. So, I mean, I think sort of having a credible deterrence or capabilities, ISR, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. I mean, I think those are sort of the baseline issues they want to do. And as I said, I mean, it seems like annexation and irredentism are back in vogue to a certain degree. And I'm very happy to hear the language that the PM and his team is telling Canadians.
I agree. I mean, obviously, Prime Minister Carney went to great lengths to mention the Arctic, and it seems like that, at least in the short run, mentioning submarines and naval capabilities does seem to signal at least Canada will take some responsibility in that. But in terms of just being at the table and not getting eaten, is it enough? I mean, we're like the big announcement is actually we're finally fulfilling what we've been promising to do for years. I think we're at 1.4 or something. I mean, there is some talk about 5%, like, that NATO and other members want more percentage of GDP.
I mean, I don't think it's a want. I mean, you get the sense when you hear from Secretary General Rutte that it's going to be a demand. I mean, obviously, you can fiddle with the numbers a bit. I mean, Trump and Secretary Hegseth have been talking about a 5% with 3.5% on capabilities and 1.5% spent everywhere else. But I mean, as I said at the beginning of the segment, I mean, the 2% just gets us in the door. And Canada's leading a battle group in Latvia. I mean, it's just the bare minimum level of credibility that Canada is showcasing with this. When you have, NATO allies in the Baltic or Poland who's already spending close to 5%, this is a great sign, but I really think this is just the beginning of something and a small step. And I think we should all expect after the Hague summit that Canada will announce a new round of defense spending. Again, what that looks like, what it manifests on is still to be determined, but it is just abundantly clear that the 2% is no longer the floor, but you still need that for the entrance to the NATO summit.
To sit at the table so you don't get eaten.
Oh God, it sent down shivers when I heard that.
Me too.
That is a serious thing if you say that in this neck of the woods in Europe. Slovakia, Prague. So I mean, it was not an accident the PM said that, but very poetic that I'm here in Prague talking to you guys in Montreal and about that saying.
Absolutely, Roger. Thank you so much. Very interesting.
All the best back home and elbows up, everybody.
Bye-bye. Roger Hilton is a former Montrealer. He works as a non-resident fellow at the Canadian Global Affairs Institute in Vienna, but as you heard, he joined us from Prague.